today unveiled a massive plan to help all of us with our credit problems and possibly make consumer loans cheaper and more available. Loans for things like cars and education, student loans. Of course, bad mortgages are essentially at the root of all this. They're what caused the economic crisis. And today, America's central bank announcing it will spend $600 billion to try to fix this situation. The plan is to buy $500 billion worth of mortgage-backed securities. That's when you take a bunch of mortgages, bundle them, and sell them off to investors. And then, of course, at the same time, you have credit default swaps, which guarantee them. It's a very complicated thing, but the long and short of it is it's messed up. When those mortgages went bad, the investments went bad. Essentially, that's what got us into all of this. Another $100 billion to buy toxic debt from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Those are the folks that issued the large, well, they don't issue them, but they back a large portion of America's mortgages. When they are in debt, they're a lot less likely to give you a mortgage. And the Fed's plan will hopefully make it easier for people to buy a home. Not really. Not really. With us now to explain is real estate analyst and author of The Accidental Landlord, Dani Babb. I think we need to start over with this.
I think so. Absolutely.
What really happened today is they put out a bunch of money that they hope will allow people to get the student loans that they need, buy the cars that they want, any kind of consumer loans. Mortgages are really a separate thing.
They are a separate thing. That is driven by the T-bond rate, which has nothing to do with what the Fed is talking about, the Treasury is doing, etc. Absolutely.
What we're talking about, because one of our biggest problems is everyday American people who've done nothing wrong, who've paid their bills on time, who aren't up to their neck in debt and have a good credit score, still haven't been able to buy the car that they were planning to buy. Not that they don't have the credit rating, they do. And they haven't been able to get the student loan for their kids as they've planned on doing all along. And now this will help how?
Well, the idea is we can free up some of the balance sheets from these banks. And in turn, hopefully the banks will begin to lend. The problem is that there's nothing that I've seen so far today written in guaranteeing that these banks are now going to be required to actually spend the money at the consumer level. And until that happens, I don't necessarily think that we're going to see a huge positive change very quickly. In the long term, possibly.
I'm with you on short term, but I don't know. And I don't think anybody really knows. I think more than anything they're hoping. Here's what they do know. If they don't get all of this bad paper out of the mix, they know it's not going to happen because the banks are too scared. They don't have the money. So their thinking is if we get, it's like a sick body. If you get the infection out, people might do right. But you can't be sure. You
can't be sure. And we also know that banks have gone to such an extreme here that in many cases, even if you're coming in with a 740 FICO, an outstanding FICO even in today's market.
An outstanding credit score.
Yeah. And they're still asking you for 6 to 12 months reserves on top of 20% or 30% down in some markets, on top of a declining market value. That prices a lot of people out that maybe perhaps this would be a great time. We have historically low rates. We have a ton of inventory. We have excellent pricing. And so this is essentially a good time to buy. We just need the banks to actually make moves.
Sure. Remember when they infused a bunch of money into the banks, they first had one idea, but then they decided, well, we're going to go buy some stock from these banks. And as a result, they'll have money, and that money, surely they'll loan it. They went out and bought more banks.
Right.
And it's not in every case, but in a lot of cases they bought more banks and they shored up their own balance sheets and they gave their CEOs bonuses and that sort of thing. That didn't work.
Right.
So I don't really know why they think this will work, but they seem to.
Well, they seem to be coming back full circle. This was a bit more like the original plan that Paulson presented to Congress that gave them the authority to actually do something.
That he then said wouldn't work, so they changed it.
Exactly. Now we're back to doing this again. Yeah. So whether it will work in the long term, we'll see.
Very weird.
Very weird indeed.
Dani, thank you.
Thank you.
Well,